The ayes have it. Call on members. Order of the day number 4.
Customs and Excise, Prohibition of Imports Made by Slave Labour, Amendment Bill, first reading.
Mr. Speaker.
I call Penny Hillary.
Mr. Speaker. I move that the Customs and Excise Prohibition of Imports Made by Slave Labour Amendment Bill be now read a first time. I nominate the Foreign Affairs, Defence and Trade Committee to consider the bill. Mr. Speaker, i te tuatahi, ka tautoko a hau i te tangi mō tea kia tui hau i ti parapara, tētahi o ngā kaimahi o te whare nei, kua hinga ki roto i ngā rangi kua pahuri ake nei, e kara haere, haere, haere. Whakahokia mai ngā rārangi kōrero kia tātou e te whare tēnā tātou katoa. Mr. Speaker, I'm proud to bring this bill to the House this evening, as it represents a genuine opportunity to not just make a positive change here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, but to make a positive change globally. Mr. Speaker, this bill has the potential to reposition Aotearoa, New Zealand at the forefront of progressive social change again. Our history is filled with the great examples of brave, progressive social policy. This year, Mr. Speaker, we commemorate 123 years since the women's suffrage petition was received by this House. More recently, in 2013, the Marriage Equality Bill was received and passed by this House. While this bill might not be a world first, it will go some way to restoring our reputation as a responsible and caring global citizen. Mr. Speaker, this bill seeks to prohibit the importation of goods produced by slavery into Aotearoa, New Zealand, preventing slave owners profiting from their crime, and encourages the ethical production of goods throughout the world. Both the United States and Belgium have passed similar legislation, and it is now time for us to follow suit. Mr. Speaker, this bill is no stranger to this House. In 2009, the Foreign Affairs, Defence and Trade Committee considered the petition of Jeff White on behalf of Trade Aid and 17,000 others, requesting that this House legislate against the importation of products made by slave labour. However, the government did not care enough to do the right thing. Later that year, Mr. Speaker, the bill came to the House thanks to the Honourable Marion Street. But sadly, the government once again was not brave enough to do the right thing and prohibit importation of goods produced by slavery into Aotearoa, New Zealand. Mr. Speaker, late last year, through what some might call luck and others call destiny, the bill was drawn from the members' ballot once again, giving the government yet another chance to do the right thing. Mr. Speaker, this bill presents the New Zealand Parliament with an opportunity to explore in good faith how free trade and human rights might be accommodated in a principled and thoughtful way. There is no doubt, Mr. Speaker, that this bill represents a position of ideology, but I do not make any apologies for that, nor do I apologise for bringing this bill back into the members' ballot and into this House. For we on this side of the House, the Labour Party, believe wholeheartedly that this is the right thing to do. This is a position that Aotearoa, New Zealand should be taking from here on out. Mr. Speaker, our country regularly claims the moral high ground. We take democracy from Western civilization, yet we aren't prepared to be brave enough to take a stand. I ask the House to allow democracy to take its role with this particular bill. I ask this House to accept this bill, vote for it, and allow it to go through the democratic process, which allows for robust debate, allows for submissions to be heard on such an important issue. Mr. Speaker, in a time where trade is important to our country, are we prepared to encourage trade from a position that accepts that slave labour is okay in the modern world? Are we, as Aotearoa, New Zealand, prepared to do that? Mr. Speaker, slavery was abolished in Britain in the 19th century, and the ban on slavery is a foundation stone of modern international human rights law. Despite this, Mr. Speaker, slavery continues in West Africa, Asia, and South America. In fact, some estimate that 21 to 36 million people are enslaved worldwide, generating approximately $150 billion each year in illicit profits for traffickers. Of this, sadly, about 22% are children. Mr. Speaker, I bring this bill before the House in the hope that our country, with a proud history of trade, with an eye to the future prosperity of not just our country, but globally take a stand as a responsible global citizen in the world. I bring this bill in the hope that it will progress through the democratic stages that bills in this country pass through, to allow for robust debate, submissions to be heard, and hopefully, Mr. Speaker, for this particular bill to be enacted into law. Mr. Speaker, I commend this bill to the House.
The question is that the motion be agreed to.